These are the 5.8 notes for pre-calc. We are going to be solving exponential equations. So what we're doing here today, we have two equations that look very similar. So one has a 23 at the end, one has a 22. So the first thing we're going to do is do basic algebra. By that, I mean add, subtract, multiply, or divide. So for both of these problems, we're going to subtract the 7. All right, that brings 4. Bring down x minus 3 as your exponent. And 23 minus 7 gets me 16. On the other side, we have a similar process. 22 minus 7 is 15. Now, moving forward, if you can take the two numbers, meaning the 4 and the 16, and make them the same base, I would suggest doing that. I can rewrite 16 as 4 squared. I'll keep the 4 as a 4. And then because I have the same base, I can cancel. So 4 cancels with 4. Bring down your exponents to set them equal to each other. And then just solve the very end of the problem. Get an answer of x equals 5. So that'll only work if you have the numbers that can become the same base. So like 5 and 25, 3 and 9, things like that. So as you look at this side over here, this problem's a little bit different. I have a 4 and a 15. So there's nothing that I can make these into the same base. 4 and 15 do not have things in common like that. So what you're going to do is you're going to use our calculator to do the change of base formula. So you're going to do the log of the answer divided by the log of the base. And this will go into your calculator. So log of 15, that's our answer, what comes after the equal sign. And then log of 4. And that'll be equal to the x minus 3. To type that into your calculator, grab your calculator or your Taculator app on your phone, that's fine. And you're going to use the log button that's located right next to the 7. Log of 15. And then divide that by the log of 4. Make sure your parenthesis is around your 15 and around your 4, but that the division sign is not inside the parenthesis. When you get an answer of 1.953. And then you have the rest of the equation to still solve. So go ahead and just add 3 to both sides to get a final answer, 4.953. So just done a little bit differently. If you can make them the same base, go ahead and do that. If you can't, then you're forced to type it into your calculator. All right, let's go ahead and try a couple problems together. So example number 1, 2 and 7. There's no basic math to do. There's nothing for me to add, subtract, or multiply, divide. So I'm going to get these, look for these to be the same base. Well, 2 and 7 don't have anything in common. So I'll have to use my change of base formula, the log of the answer divided by the log of the base to get 3x plus 1. From there, I'll type it into my calculator, making sure that the division sign is not inside the parentheses. When I type log of 7 divided by log of 2 in my calculator, I get 2.807. Now, what you could do to kind of shortcut some things is you can just think about how you would solve the rest of this problem. The rest of this problem, you would subtract 1 to get 3x, and then you would divide by 3. So in your calculator, if you just wanted to take whatever answer you got, that 2.807, subtract 1, and divide by 3. You don't have to write all those decimals down. So again, just whatever answer you have in your calculator, minus 1, hit enter, and then divide by 3. That would get you 0.602. If that did not work for you, if you do not like that method, then you would just go ahead and write everything out. You would get 2.807 equals 3x plus 1. Then you would subtract 1 and divide by 3. Again, you're going to end up the same answers. You're just not going to have to write all those steps down. So it's up to you. All right, example number 2, we're going to get these to be the same base. So I'm going to make this 2, and I'm going to make the 1/8 into a 2 to the negative 3. Remember, negative exponents create fractions. And I'll bring down my 2x minus 8 right here. And then you can get those 2's to cancel, giving you 2x minus 8 equals negative 3. And solve from there, add 8. And divide by 2. You can leave your answer as 5/2, or if you'd rather turn it into a decimal, 2.5 is fine as well. All right, for example number 3, I've got this 2 in front first. You cannot multiply 2 times 27 because 27 has the exponent. So you cannot multiply those two numbers together. What you can do is divide out the 2 from both sides to cancel that out. That was my step of doing the basic math. Now I can go ahead and get these to be the same base of 3. 3 and 3. 27 is 3 to the 3rd. Bring down the exponent that was already there. 9 is written as 3 squared. Then you can cancel the 3's. Set your exponents equal to each other. I'm going to go ahead and distribute this right here. And then just solve it out. X equals negative 16/3, which would be the equivalent of negative 5.3 repeating. If you'd rather do a decimal, that's fine. So each problem doing your basic math and then just deciding which method works better. We'll add 5. This gets me 45. Unfortunately, there's no same base. There's no power of 3 that'll get you 45. So we're going to rewrite it. The log of 45 divided by the log of 3. Again, you can type this into your calculator all in one step. You would do the log of 45 divided by, make sure the division bar is outside of the parenthesis, and then divided by the log of 3. I'll hit enter. I get 3.465. And then you can just divide that by 2. Again, if you don't want to write down that decimal at the beginning, that's okay. As long as you remember to divide it by 2 at the end, you'll get the correct answer of 1.732. All right, on the back side, 2 more problems here. I'm going to divide by 2. Again, don't multiply those two numbers. One has an exponent. Divide this out to get 81. Here, you can get the bases to be the same. They're both going to be 3's. Take a second, see if you can figure out what that problem is. Your exponent to get 81 would be 3 to the 4th power. So again, it's a guessing and checking game in your calculator. Just type in 3 squared, 3 to the third, 3 to the fourth until you get 81. Bring down your exponents. And just subtract your 5. Right. Example number 8. Subtract 3 from both sides. Seven and 27 cannot use the same base, so you'll have to type that into your calculator. See if you can set that up, type it in, and then solve the rest of the problem. You are going to get a decimal almost always when you type it into your calculator. Make sure you're actually practicing typing into the calculator. The log of 27 divided by the log of 7 is getting me an answer of 1.694 when I round it. And from there, you would just solve out the rest of the problem. Subtract 4 and divide by 5. Most of that can be done in your calculator without having to write it out. Just do the opposite signs of whatever you see, the opposite operation. Negative 0.461. All right, we've got some special cases here. What about e? If you have e to the x equals 18, there's no way you can get e and 18 to be the same base. So what you'll do is type it into your calculator as the log of 18 divided by the log of e. Now, the log of e is actually the ln button. So the log of 18 divided by log of e, you could just instead type it in as, so this is a big or, ln of 18. Those two things mean the same exact thing. The ln button, again, is one of those shortcuts that mathematicians used. Instead of having to type in the log of e in the denominator, they just did ln of 18. So anytime you see this, you can instead write it as this. So let's just use our ln button. You'd hit ln 18 and hit enter to get your answer. 2.890. If you wanted to type in the log of 18 divided by the log of e, you would have to do the log e as log shift ln, which is the e, and then you'd have to type in a 1 right here. The calculator's not going to allow you to just leave it as an e. So again, that's why the ln button is so much easier. All right, so let's look down at example number 7. Again, you're going to do any of your basic math first. So I'm going to start by adding 2 to both sides. Then I'll rewrite this. The log of 52 divided by the log of e equals the x plus 5. Then I'll substitute this whole side for just the ln, the natural log of 52. So in my calculator, I'm going to do the natural log of 52. And then I'll subtract 5 from both sides. The natural log of 52, I'm getting 3.951. and then just minus 5 from that. To get an answer of x equals negative 1.049 when I rounded. And example number 8, I'm going to divide both sides by 5 first. Gets me 89.2. And again, I'm going to have to type it in as the log of 89.2 divided by the log of e. Or, remember, you could just write it as the natural log of 89.2. So we type that into our calculator. Natural log of 89.2 is getting me 4.49. Wow. Let's try that again. 4.491. And I'll divide my answer by 2, which is getting me approximately 2.245. So down at the bottom here, we just have a little bit of a summary of what we've done. Remember, there are 2 ways to solve equations. Either you get them to be the same base, or you type it into your calculator as the log of the answer divided by the log of the base.